Okay, we left off with part two of the M2A2 assignment tutorials. We had just gotten the stream pulled down, used the radial bend to pull up these outer surfaces, use the soap skin to put a mesh on them, which you can see if I turn on hidden geometry. And then we use a little of the soap bubble and a little of the artisan plugin to manipulate it. So now that we've got those edges done, I'm going to move into the interior. And the first thing I need to do is lower this central area, which I wanted to have since the pond's there, and to create a little variation in the landform across the length of this park. As you walk down these walkways, I wanted this to slow down and then back up. So the easiest way that I can think of to do that is to go ahead. I went and put these lines in here for the ramps when we created this, and then I'm just going to move this down. Well, I'm going to try to move it down. There we go. Move it down. Type 2 feet, enter, and that's down. Now I can do the same thing with, oops, all right. With these, just move it down to snap to here, snap to here, snap to here. All right. Now, before I do anything with that, I'll get to the ramp and then we'll take care of this, the side, oopsies. All right, I see a little bit of a problem there. That's part of that group. All right, well, because I bent this up, that's going to be a little more complicated, but I think we can still do it. So I'll come back to that and figure it out. I think I didn't have you do it this way. Yeah, I think this will still work. Let's find out. Okay, let's get out of here. So don't worry about this gap right now. We can plug that in and then we could redo that. But actually it would have been smarter, since I demonstrated this, to pull this down before, because now I don't have, if I would have pulled this down before I created this surface, it was all connected. But let's see what we can do here. Let's do this. Okay, because this will make it more understandable, I am going to back up. Just going to back up. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is take this, ungroup it, explode it, explode it. Okay, so now we're all exploded. Now I hope what that means is, yes, what that means is when I pull this down and type 2 feet now, it will actually create a surface. So if you did this first, just make sure you ungroup it so that the geometry can connect to this. Otherwise, it gets a little more complicated. Okay, now in this case, I cannot pull this face, so I'm going to come back in later on and delete that. These I can pull down to match because they're flat. That surface is not flat. And I will show you how to handle that in a second, because basically it's the same thing. We'll just delete those surfaces when we get to it. Okay, so before I start working with creating the ramps, and you could just create a surface to represent the ramp, but I think it's cleaner if it comes down and you create a mesh in this whole area, because we need a mesh in here to create the pond and all that stuff. Speaking of which, well, I'm going to come in and delete this later, but what I want to do first is start with the walls. Let's get those done, get the boundaries set up, and then we'll come in and do the surface and then add the soap bubble in. So what I know, there's going to be a ramp from here to here, and that's where I want my wall. So I'm going to do, well, I'll do both sides quick. Hopefully it won't take too long. Again, make sure you get all the pieces. Hopefully if you used only a few arcs. All right, so I've got all that there, and then I can just use my offset tool, pull that in. I'm going to do 2 feet. Choose a line tool, and I want to go from here to there. Come over here, there, to there. And what you should see is that. Okay, now some of these other things, I'm going to get the eraser. I want to do this anyway. I'm going to smooth that, smooth that, smooth that, smooth that, and smooth that. Anything that sees a vertical line, I'm going to smooth just because it makes it easier. And just so you can see this now, I am going to go ahead and choose my paint bucket. Let's go to stone. Oh, let's go with this. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to choose actually another color for the top. No, let's just use the same color. Oh, well, that's a different one, but let's pick this up. Okay. Alt key gets the eyedropper. So I can see the stone wall there. So that gives me my base wall, but I also want it to come up above. So I'm going to use the push-pull tool, and maybe I'm going to make that another 6 inches. So I just type 6, and so now I've got it going all the way down. All the lines are smoothed off, and I've got it 6 inches above. Now the other thing I need to do is put a cap on this capstone. So I'm going to double click, use the move tool, hold the control key down because that makes a copy, and move it up and type 2, enter. So I'm 2 inches up, and now I can use the offset tool. I'm going to go 2 inches out, 2, enter. Get my select tool, double click, shift click, and delete. So now, before I do anything else, I'm going to double click on that and make it a group. I don't care if the bottom of this wall is not a group, that's okay. But this one should be separate so we can manipulate it. So I'm going to come in here. Let's pick a color. You can do it. I'm just going to pick a gray color. And fill that so that when I push pull it, okay, so I'm pulling it down to match that corner. All right. Now, when I was doing this kind of quick, you notice I probably, well, that's not too bad there. But I might have added more segments to these arcs because it would look better. That's not bad, but it could be a little better. So I've got a little bit of height here. So the water is going to wash over the edge of the wall. And that looks good. So you can see now, and basically, I'm going to push this down and this down so right now so we can see what's going on. So yeah, it looks pretty good. We got this wall, goes right over onto there. The top is a separate group. This is still part of the basic geometry. So let's go over here and do the same thing to this side. Select that. All right, got everything there. We'll fix that in a little bit. Offset tool, pull it out, 2 feet, enter. Get the line tool, endpoint to endpoint, endpoint to endpoint. Okay, we're going to get our paint bucket. And I could use my color palette, but I could also come over here, hold the Alt key down, pick up that color, click on this. Now, this is why, for right now, I should have started with the eraser tool. Control key, smooth, smooth, smooth. Because once I smooth these lines, this surface, SketchUp sees it as a single surface, and that way I don't. Now, if you smooth these and they don't disappear, then they might be artifacts that I can just delete, which they are. All right, so they're gone. Paint bucket, Alt click, and that whole surface is now a retaining wall. Okay, and then the same thing. The first thing I'm going to do is push pull 6, enter for 6 inches just to get it up a little higher above the surface because we want to put use the soap skin to put a mesh on this and do some landform, and we don't want it falling over the edge there. Get my select tool, double click, zoom in, move with the control key, move it up, type 2, enter, and then I'm going to right click and make it a group. And before I go anywhere else, I'm going to Alt click with the paint bucket, pick that up, click on that, and now that's that same color. So now I'm going to use the push-pull tool, grab it underneath and snap it right to that corner. Okay, now that's almost what I did right. Not quite. Let's undo that. Forgot one step, right? that makes it a cap that matches, but I want it overhanging. So I'm going to double click on this, use the offset, pull it out 2 inches, double click in here, shift to deselect, and hit delete to get rid of those extra lines. Now I'm going to make that a group, get inside the group. Okay, where'd I go? All right, let's get in here a little closer. There we go, push pull, snap it right to that corner. Okay, so I've got both my walls now. They look pretty good. They come right up to where the ramp's going to go, and everything else is down at that lower surface. So that's kind of the prep work. And then the other thing I need to do is create the lines that ramp from this point to this point. Now, because I was careful about this, but apparently not that careful. If you have one line, click it. If you have more than one line, then select all those. Use the move tool. If you have more than one, control click, move it vertical, go to extensions, weld it. Okay, and then go down here, make sure you hit escape a couple times and then get the end point. Move that down to there. Get this out of the way. Get the end point. Move it down to there. Okay, if it doesn't become part of that surface, that's just fine. It doesn't matter. We just are trying to create this edge there. So I'm going to get my eraser, just make this easier. Control, control, select. Okay, so I got those two. Since they're 2 pieces, I need to do move, control, straight up vertically. Don't let them go off vertical. Extensions, weld. And weld just connects those into one piece. So now when I move this straight down, that's going to be easy to select with a single click. And that's what I need to do to every ramp. Okay, now I can probably come in here even now and delete those lines because I don't really need those in there. So I'm going to go around and do that same thing to the other side. So click on this, delete it. If these lines look thick, I would just try deleting them. This one, eraser, control, smooth, smooth. And that's looking pretty good, except I don't want to delete this until I figure out where my line is. So I need that still. So let's do this again. Okay, there's a nice single line. So in that case, I do move. I just move to the midpoint, hit escape, move this end to there. Let's try it again, snap to the end point. Move that to there. Okay, now that one stayed right in the surface because it was a single line and it fit in there. So this one, I have 2 lines. So in this case, I'm going to have to move it with a copy. Move, control, move it straight up above, use the weld, and then use move, just get the end point, straight down. Now in this case, make sure that when you bring this down, you're not snapping to the top of that wall. You want to get right to the corner of the pavement there. Okay, now once you have that done, then you can come in here and delete this piece. I just needed to know where that was. And this one, again, back to my eraser, control, control. Okay, now again, when I did this originally, I sloped this down, but since I did this landform first before I dropped it, it's up here. So I could delete it and just do another one, but I'll show you that technique on the opposite side. And you can apply the same thing to the other side if you do it in this order. So let's get this done. Select. That's one piece. Nice. So I'm going to control move and then hit escape. Just get the end point. Drag it down. If it stops, just do it again. Sometimes there's little pieces in there. Okay, so if that's happening, I'm going to undo this right there. I'm going to reselect this. Do move. If it's connecting to that, I'm going to move this one straight up. Weld it. once it welds it, it kind of detaches it from everything. So now I can bring that down and snap it right into place. Okay, eraser control, smooth that off, smooth that off. Shift click, select it, 2 pieces, move it all the way up, weld it, move it down, move it to that corner, come in here, delete that piece out of there. All right, one more side to go here. Select that. Move it straight up. Let's just weld it to make sure it's not going to intercept anything. Move down. Move down. Get the eraser tool. Smooth that with the control key. Smooth that. All right, let's see what this one looks like. Yeah, single click. Still going to do the move control and just move it up. Weld it. Seems like that works a lot better that way. Move vertically down there, vertically down there. And then I can delete that line as well. Okay, so now once I've done that, I've got all the pieces I need to create this surface. So I'm going to double click to select all the bounding lines, shift click to get rid of the surface, and then I just need to go around and say, okay, I don't want this line, I want this one, I want this one, I don't want that one, I don't want that one, I want this one. That looks good. Don't want that one or that one. I want that one. Not that one, this one, because I want it to ramp up to the top. Not this one, this one. You do need to have a continuous loop all the way around. I helped a couple folks today that they had a small line segment. Get rid of that one too. Small line segment, get rid of that one. Add that one. That wasn't selected because there was a little piece and they missed it. If it gives you an error message that it needs a closed loop, that's what's going on. You have a little piece of line somewhere that you didn't select, and it's a broken loop, and it won't work if you have a broken loop. So get rid of all those. So now I've got everything selected there. And I'm just going to use my soap skin. Okay, so that's the error you get. Sorry, closed loop. Let's see what's going on. I'll go around again. And I just need to give SketchUp what it's looking for. Okay, that looks pretty tight. All right, selecting these lines, going around. Not sure where I missed a spot. Okay, that looks connected. That looks pretty connected there. This side. That looks pretty good. But one thing I can try and do, which I didn't do before, but as long as I'm sure I'm not missing anything, I don't see any gaps anywhere. Yeah, I don't see a gap there. It's one reason you want to make sure you snap right to those corners. Okay, maybe I missed this one last time. I don't know. One thing I'm thinking about doing now, just because it takes a little while to do that, I'm going to go to extensions and choose weld. That didn't work very well. That didn't work at all. Okay, let's not do that. All right, one more time. Shift click. I think maybe that side over there, the last side, is what I was missing, because I did notice there was a piece there that I don't think I selected before. Clearly weld does not work when it's connected to a surface. Works fine when it's disconnected, but so this is the one I was a little concerned about, not here, but right around the corner. This one right down here. But that one, I think I missed this one perhaps. I'm hoping that's it. And I'm not dealing with that ramp right now. So make sure you zoom in and out right at those corners. No problem doing it over again. You get the idea. All right, that looks like it's doing it. There we go. I think that corner was the one I was missing. So I'm doing 30, and then again, zoom in on it, hit enter, and give it a little time. As you saw in the other ones, it's going to go through and do the grid on the flat plane, and then it's going to go through and bring it up to match everything. Now, in this case, because it's fairly complex, we've got all these curves in there, it's going to take a little while to do. So just be patient. You can see right here, right now. Okay, my computer's a lot faster than the ones in Studio, so it doesn't take long here. You're going to have to wait a lot longer. But it will do it, and just watch, it'll work its way around. You'll see it over here. Here it's connecting over here, gets the edges, and then it'll smooth it out. Now there it is up at the top here. It's working on this corner. It's working on this one. Boom. Okay, done. All right, now you'll notice it does go all the way across, which is fine, but it has a nice smooth ramp up there all the way around. And that's actually exactly what we want. So if I come in here, I'm going to cut this for a second. Okay, I'm going to double click on this, delete it, which leaves this surface right here, which is okay. So I'm going to double click on that, make it a group, open the group, push, pull it up, and then take the group and move it down, because we're going to use that to slice the other shape. Now, the shape we want to slice isn't this. This is the original 2D surface. We're going to get rid of that. Then we are going to go edit, paste in place. And now that that's there, I can select that and that. Oh, first, before you do that, open this up, triple click on it, and soften smooth edges. Okay, that's absolutely necessary. If you don't do that, this doesn't work right. So it should be smooth. You don't see the grids. Select this, right click, intersect faces with selection. Now it'll take a little bit of time. And then you can go through and delete this out of there. And what you get is this shape here. And in order to keep this grouped, I'm going to cut that. Okay, why didn't that? Well, I'm going to paste this in place. And now you can see, if I turn on the hidden geometry, that mesh has been divided into those two pieces. And it's nice and clean, works great. Then I can come in here and group that. And I don't know what this, why those shapes are in there, but I'm going to take my eraser tool. I'm not sure I quite get that, except, oh, I guess it's just because it's grouped. That's all. So we'll take care of that later on. once we get the pond done, we can explode that. So if you want to see, then that's basically how you create these ramps. It's one nice smooth surface. We can get the paint bucket. I'll talk more about this on Thursday, so don't worry about the, let's just put some stone paving on here. All right. Now, and let's put some vegetation maybe in here. There we go. Well, yeah, that's okay. For this, that's plenty good enough. Okay, so we've got our sunken area, and we've got this ramps going down, and we've got this area where the pond is. Now, we can create the pond by selecting this, and actually I should make this a, well, maybe I don't have, I think I have to make this a group, sorry. Yeah, make it a group. Get in there, double click, and go to Tools, Artisan, Crease Selection, Bounding Vertices. Excellent. So now that I've got that done, I can pick up my tool here. Let's make it a little smaller. Let's make it a little down. Sculpt. Okay. So I just created a little depression in there. Try to balance it out a little bit. Remember, there's a little green grass strip around the edge, so we don't want to, we want to leave that there, but we just want to get this low enough, at least for starters, that we get that in there. So that's enough for that. So it's a little lumpy, but hey, bottom of a pond isn't perfectly smooth. So anyway, so now that I've got the pond kind of depressed, how do I create the water? Well, you do that with a simple surface. So I'm going to make a surface like that. Fill it with a water pattern, just so you can see it. Then I'm going to double click on it, right click and make it a group, and then move it over into place. So once it's basically into place, I can move it up, hold the shift key, and basically by where I place that, I can control what the water level is. And of course, once you do that, if you don't like that shape there, well, I can go into this, get my tool, go up, sculpt. You just come around here and say, oh yeah, I want that a little bit higher. Go to smooth. And again, the edge doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. That's okay. So now if I back out here, you can see that we've got that water surface and the grass rolling down into it just the way we want it. Okay, so that's how you do that interior section with the ramps. And then the rest of this is, again, you just double click on this. Let's do the soap skin, 30, enter. Since this is all flat right now, we're just going to let it do its thing, create that mesh. And once that mesh is completely created, we'll delete that original surface out of there, which you can see because of the splotchy blue colors. We'll cut the grid, delete that, paste it in place, and then you can use the artisan menu to crease it. And then once it's creased, you can go in and manipulate it however you like. So select the grid, cut it, select this, delete it. Oh no, that's okay. That's just fine. Edit, paste in place. Triple click, soften smooth. Deselect it, double click again. Tools, Artisan, Crease Selection, Boundary Vertices. Awesome. Now I can show my hidden geometry. Tool, sculpt, and I come in here and say, all right, I really want a little bit of a slope in here, just so there's a little separation spatially. Maybe a little more right here. That forces you view around the corner. Maybe I want this down a little bit more. Maybe I want to go smooth. And, oops. And I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit. Again, the landform that you pick exactly is kind of up to you. Just something that creates a little terrain that helps define space, direct views, create enclosure. All right, turn off my hidden geometry. So there you go. Come in, we've got a little bit of a mound that catches our eye, directs us around. We come down the ramp into the low area. And that's really all you need to do with the rest of these spaces. Now, to get this one done, it's basically the same deal. Shift click, and then deselect this, get this, deselect this, deselect that one, get that one, not that one, autosave that one, deselect that one, pick this one, not that one, this one. And I think that's it. So I've got everything out there. Now let's do the slip skin. All right, let's let it go. So this one's going to calculate that. It's going to run through, get all that set up, and then we'll have a little extra to delete, because in this case we'll have to delete the surface, but we'll also delete these vertical lines here, because that is going to slope down right to the edge of the paving and follow right along the edge of the ramp to get there. I think it's still working on it, unless I interrupted it by moving around. It's going to let it go a little bit longer, see what happens. It's another complicated shape, so it may take a little while to do. And right now you can't see anything because most of it is under the surface. There we go. Now it's coming. You see here, it's bending down. It's all behind this, so you can't see what's going on, but it's connecting to it. It's starting to bring it down right there. Right over here, it's connecting all those edges. Just got to be patient. Remember, I'm doing this. I mean, it does, recording these takes a certain amount of computing power while I'm working, but at the same time, I'm running a pretty fast computer, so this will take a lot longer, but okay. You just saw the grid pop up. I think that's done. So if I click on this, delete it, you can see the mesh. And then I have to get the eraser and just go through manually and say, okay, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of that. Get rid of that, just delete the pieces that you don't need. All right, that looks pretty good. So you can see it's from here, from that embankment, it slopes right down along the ramp and right along the bottom. And if you want to smooth it, triple click, soften smooth, click in there. and out of there. So if you want to go through and do the soap bubble, that's white, so I'm going to try one. That should take it in the positive direction. That's probably too much though. Let's see what it does. Oh, actually, it probably is not going to work because I smoothed it. I think if you're going to do that, you may have to do it. We'll see. Yeah, I didn't really notice much happening. I think because I smoothed it off, you want to keep the mesh, don't smooth it, and then that will puff it up a little bit. But anyway, you get the idea. You can go with the artisan tool and start forming that into whatever you want. So, you know, we're 35 minutes in here with explanations and a couple redos, but, you know, in a half an hour, you can have a landform that looks like that and is ready for you to put components on. And because I extruded this up before, I'd have to really redo this landform to make it do this. Or if you want, if you do this, put another retaining wall in there. And then the ramp, you can do the same thing. We could come in here and delete this out of here. Get rid of these pieces. All right, select that. You can do move it up, weld it. Move it down, do the same thing to the other side, and then just, you can make a little mesh here and then explode it and tie it into the other one. So because I bent this up first, that requires an extra step, but it works exactly the same way. Okay, so I'm going to end that for now. Sorry, that's kind of long, but hopefully you can go back through that and figure out how to do all the rest of the pieces to create the landforms that you need.